Welcome to Lansing Marketing Hackers. We are so glad you are here. We are a group open and welcome to all who work in marketing, sales, technology, those interested in these topics. We have a number of business owners, leaders, new entrepreneurs, students, and so many more who are passionate about learning and sharing about marketing as we grow our businesses together. I'm Julie Holton, joined by my Lansing Marketing Hackers co-organizers, Paul and Chad. Before we get started with today's presentation, let's share a little bit about us, guys. Paul, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Paul Schmidt. I'm the owner and creative video strategist for Introduce Multimedia, a video storytelling agency that primarily works with nonprofit organizations and socially responsible small businesses based in the Lansing area. So if you have a story to share, we have a way to make sure it becomes a reality. That's what we do.
And you're good at it. And my name's Chad Muntz. I am the digital sales manager for WLNS Channel 6 here in Lansing, and representing Nexstar Media Group as our larger parent organization. And we essentially help businesses develop marketing strategies specifically on the online space and social media. And I help execute those campaigns on a regular basis. So yeah, we're very interested in hacking the digital marketing space and sharing new ideas with each other. And that's why we kind of created this group. And yeah, that's what we're here to do today. So back to you, Julie.
Yeah, awesome. Chad and Paul are both part of a TV show called Expert Connections that M Connections is a part of. I'm Julie Holton. I'm the founder and principal strategist of M Connections Marketing Agency. We're a full-service marketing agency that excels in building websites, developing marketing campaigns, whether it's email automation, social media, you name it, public relations, graphic design. We do a little bit of everything. We also offer sales coaching and entrepreneurship coaching. And like I mentioned, we have a TV show featuring our own Paul Schmidt on Chad's TV station, WLAJ, the sister station of WLNS. Expert Connections has a segment on marketing called Marketing Connections every Monday morning at 9 a.m. after Good Morning America. How's that for a shameless plug, guys? So a lot of great information and fun on our show. Also featured on our show is the team from Symposia Labs. Symposia is our sponsor for Lansing Marketing Hackers. And Tim, the founder of Symposia, is here today. Hey, Tim.
Hi, Julie. My name is Tim, and I'm the founder of Symposia. We are a virtually based marketing agency that focuses on growth-minded organizations. And we're so happy to be able to partake in today's event. Did you guys know that video makes up over 80% of content consumed online these days? It's wild to think that. I've been in the marketing industry for almost a decade, and I still get a little bit nervous when it comes to creating video content. I'm so excited for today's presentation, and I can't wait to learn alongside of the rest of you.
Tim, I'm so glad you mentioned that because, and Amy says, plug it about the show. So it's totally out of my comfort zone and I host the show, right? So a lot of what we're talking about today are trends that take us outside of our comfort zone, especially the one trend that's going to be so impactful this year that our team at M Connections decided to incorporate it all throughout our blog. And I can tell you the video you're about to see, which is a compilation of this trend, totally takes me out of my comfort zone, but also it's been a lot of fun and we're seeing a lot of success from it. So I'm really excited to turn the tables today on my own team that have joined me for a panel discussion. But first, sit back, turn up your volume, and check out a fun sneak preview of the 25 trends that we're going to talk about today.
All right, so I got these, those, them. Take a look at this. Step back. Take a look at this. You can feel your mind. You can feel your mind. Seat back, windows down. Just tell me where you wanna go. Leave behind.
Baby girl, I'm the man from the big B. Hey, won't you come play round my way? And listen to what I gotta say. Simple, hey.
Take a look at this. Step back. Take a look at this. You can feel your mind. You can feel your mind. Seat back, windows down. Just tell me where you wanna go. Leave behind your reservations. Leave behind.
We had so much fun making these reels for Instagram and Facebook. And joining me live now on our virtual Lansing Marketing Hackers stage, my team from M Connection, some of the members that you just saw. So let me do a quick round of introductions, you guys. Alexis Newman is the senior marketing strategist. She's one of our kind of masters of all. She creates a lot of the content that we do for our clients, graphic design, high-level marketing strategy. Audria Fink is a sales consultant and strategist. She's your go-to when creating sales pipelines and really nurturing those leads. Mary Kate is a social media strategist. She is our in-house Reels expert. She might be the brains behind what you just saw in creating our trends Reels. And Katerina Strauss is a project manager. She keeps us all on task and on time for our clients. She also works closely with our web development team. And ladies, I know this is a little outside of our comfort zone. We don't normally do this. So thank you guys for joining us today to talk about our top 25 trends for this year. All right. If everyone's unmuted, let's dive in. So many of us, what you just saw was a compilation of the reels that we created for Instagram and Facebook that, because it's going to be such a trend this year that we thought, all right, what's an outside of the box way to incorporate that trend into the blog that we typically put out every year with the top trends? So this was, we thought, well, let's go the extra mile and embed those videos that you just saw, those reels, into our blog. So I'm going to start there. Mary Kate, this was, an idea you and I talked a lot about because this is going to be a big trend in social media marketing this year. Mm-hmm. Tell us, why should businesses focus on short form videos like Reels and TikTok?
Well, first, I want to say thanks for having me, Julie. This is awesome. But TikTok will become the most important social network for marketing. TikTok suppressed about 1 billion users in September 2021, making it the 7th most popular social network in the world. And these numbers only expected to grow. So this is prime real estate for wanting to market on popular sites, either with your own TikTok channels or simply just using it to advertise. And then that's where the reels have come in to play, which you have witnessed. You have to kind of get comfortable with it at first. I think we've all experienced it. We've all helped to cheer each other on through the process. But with Reels, it's a great way to reach more people, and it's a great feature for brand awareness and audience engagement.
Absolutely. And Mary Kate, it's so important to say that, we were all like, all right, this will be fun, but I don't know if I want to be on camera. And so one of us actually isn't on camera in those reels, and it's perfectly fine. In fact, Alexis actually chose a video of someone who kind of looks like her. So a lot of people think that it's her, which is even funnier. But you don't have to be on camera in order to have a successful reel. And MK, can you also mention, we saw, kind of average engagement on our Instagram account, which we don't put a ton of time into, right? We're very much focused on our clients. So I say that I think that average number of views might be maybe up to 50, up to 100, on a normal post, would you say?
Yep. Yes.
And
Definitely.
then the very first reel that you posted got over 3,000 views?
Yep.
So if you're looking to take your Instagram views from dozens or hundreds to thousands, this is definitely the way to go. Okay, but when it comes to short form videos, longer is better. Explain what you mean by that, MK.
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive saying that, but we're talking about using the maximum time allowed. And TikTok actually ran this global test, hearing that they actually were talking with content creators, and they said that they want more time to show cooking demos and educational lessons, and that's where their products and everything. So TikTok has expanded to 3 minutes length, and Reels are now 60 seconds long.
Okay, so what you mean is use as much of that time as possible. I mean, some of our reels are 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and they're fun. But if you can maximize that time, that's awesome. I'd love to hear from our audience. Are any of you using reels? Or any of you on TikTok? How are you using them? Comment and let us know what success you're seeing or what questions you might have about it. Alexis, I'm going to come to you now because we saw a slightly retro look in your reel. Alexis's reel was the one at the end, and retro is actually one of your top trends for this year. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so if you have found yourself scrolling through your social media platforms and all of a sudden you're like, what decade is this? Did we just, go back in time? Is it the 60s? Is it the 90s? You're not alone. That's normal. That's one of the newest trends. You'll see that not just online, but in stores also. If you're like me, if you've been to the mall lately and you walk into a store and you're like, where did these clothes come from? They look like something I wore in high school or that my parents wore in high school. That is a new trend everywhere. This retro look and feel that really kind of leans into that familiarity and nostalgia and comfort. Like I said, the 60s and the 90s are two really big decades that we're seeing kind of hit with this retro look. You can incorporate this in a variety of different ways on social media, and we're seeing it all over the place, different brands and businesses, and it's only going to get more popular in 2022.
Yeah, and Amy Zander from ZDM Media says that they are all about the retro. I love that. And Amy also says that they just started using TikTok to talk about bad marketing examples. Amy, I saw the one you did the other day about cellophane and wrapping children in cellophane. If you haven't seen it, check out ZDM Media on Instagram, on TikTok, because that TikTok, right? TikTok. Because that's pretty funny, and what a great imaginative way to start using that for creating TikTok videos. Okay,
I'd like to say too, Amy, I completely agree with you. I also have a hard time with 90s being retro, but it appears that is the case.
Well, and I don't care what the Generation Z says. I'm not getting rid of my side part. And I'm not getting rid of my skinny jeans.
Same.
So,
I'm here to stay.
Even if that becomes retro, I'm sticking with it. Okay, bold is back for sure. Especially retro is also a bold move, I think, in the return of the 90s. But is there more than just nostalgia behind this, Alexis?
Yeah, so for a long time, we were seeing a lot of those pale, kind of muted, really minimalist colors, particularly on Instagram. When you look at sort of the overall color palette, that was a big trend for a long time, and it's not going away so much as it's evolving to incorporate some of these big, bold, bright color splashes. If you think about websites from the 90s, this kind of classic websites that have these really bright, like neon green and orange and blue and pink, that's sort of what this trend is all about, is kind of bringing some of those colors back, especially leaning into the neons and the really bright, bold, deep colors. So I would say it's not something you need to worry about putting all over all of your marketing and all of your design. But if you're kind of looking for a fun way to maybe infuse like a little extra energy into your marketing aesthetic, this trend is a great way to do that. Just pick a couple of really bold, fun colors that you like and figure out how to weave them into some of your designs.
I love that. We're even just like one bold color we're seeing a lot of like black and white designs with a bright, bold gold, or like a purple or something. Audrey, it makes me think of our Think Tank of Three podcast and the bright pinks and blues that we have there for sure. We see so much of this in the influencer marketing. Katerina, I want to jump over to you. Let's talk about influencers and micro influencers. So like the celebrities with the millions of followers, and then the micro influencers who might be more on our small business scale with thousands or tens of thousands of followers. Are they in or out in 2022?
Influencers are here to stay, that's for sure. And influencer marketing does way more than just attach a well-known celebrity face like Kendall Jenner versus, a smaller micro influencer. And it allows for, like, the micro influencers allow for smaller brands to locate and advertise directly to their target audience with micro influencers. So as consumers can, as they have grown, more skeptical of, bigger brands, building trust has become even more crucial. And advertising through influencers allows brands to promote through someone that a niche community engages with and trusts.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this, some examples like with Polka Dots Boutique in Old Town here in Lansing, using different people in the community to model their clothing. We're talking about real people, these micro influencers, and also kind of the real body types where you can see, for instance, clothing modeled on someone who's more similar to you than, Kendall Jenner, or, maybe some of you are like, I don't know, but no judgment, but, kind of, that trend. Alexis, kind of on the same frame as like Polka Dots, how can small businesses use this trend of influencer marketing?
Yeah, so we all know how powerful social media ads can be, but influencer marketing, like Katerina said,
late at night,
right? Yes, when you're doing a little like late night shopping, scrolling, endless scrolling. Like Katerina said, influencer marketing kind of takes that to a whole new level. So especially, I think micro influencers are so key because they are more accessible, especially to smaller brands and businesses. So if you can find a micro influencer who's local to your target audience, that's a great way for you to kind of get, as a small business, for you to kind of get your name out there with that extra level of authenticity that a traditional social media ad might not have. The best way I would say to start that process, how do you kind of get that underway, is to start building that relationship. So you want to be active, particularly interactive with that influencer that you are trying to build that relationship with. So follow them, comment on their posts, like their posts, share their content, try to establish a relationship ahead of reaching out and kind of trying to gauge their level of interest or ability to provide that influencer marketing support. But that relationship building is going to be really critical to getting to where you ultimately want to go, which is establishing this really mutually beneficial relationship.
There's one trend that never goes away and never will go away. It's all about the relationship, right? The connections, which is why we put it right in our name, M Connections. Madeline, thank you for that nice comment. I'd love to hear from the audience. Are you using influencer marketing? Is that anything that has been helpful for you, for your clients, for your business? Let us know, weigh in on that. Talking about shopping. So we were talking about that a little bit with the influencer marketing, especially shopping though, without leaving social media. Mary Kate, we've seen a lot lot of changes in the shopping experience, especially during the pandemic, which I'm impressed that it took until now, 20 minutes in, to bring up that P word. But a lot of shopping changes in 2020 and 2021. They might have been more subtle for users, like staying within the platform to purchase, but that created a lot of work behind the scenes for businesses, because especially on Facebook, as Facebook Marketplace opened, and you have to make sure that you're either loading the info or syncing the info. If you are a retailer and you're hearing about this for the first time, pay attention, because this is a big one. So can you tell us about this shopping experience as it relates to social media and the trend there?
Yeah, absolutely. So shoppers now expect to buy your product on social media. So social networks are continuously evolving to become retail platforms. So, your posts are now your storefronts. Instagram is your storefront. Your goal should always be to create smooth running shopping experience. And now, especially with social media, and like Julie said, during the pandemic, the word that we stay away from, we have to switch between. If you have to go between social media to your website, it's just too many clicks, and especially for your target audience. You want to make it easy.
Absolutely. And the platforms don't want their users to leave the platforms. So of course they want the businesses to be there. They want us to be there because we're what, fund the money behind keeping the platform. We're what help them create content to attract users, but they don't want their users to leave. They don't want their users to leave, Facebook, for instance, and go to your website, because will they come back? So they want to keep the users on the platform. And that's why we're seeing that shopping experience right within the platform. It's also not the only integrated experience that we're seeing, talking about kind of integrating that e-commerce experience with social media and, with Facebook, Instagram, others. This integrated online, offline experience was one of my top trends for the year. I'll just jump in here with this, because of course we saw this huge shift during the pandemic shutdown in 2020 that moved people from actually on the main street storefronts, walking into retailers, walking into businesses, to instead shifting over to that digital marketplace for a number of reasons. Those clients and customers never fully shifted back to in-person. In Michigan today, like with all this snow coming down, this is a great example of realizing that the convenience of digital experiences is one of the reasons why people didn't go back to being in person. So now it's really important, as we look ahead into 2022, that if you want to win, you have to be competitive about those hybrid experiences, kind of having that flow seamlessly between in-person and online. Which leads me to another topic, another trend on our list. Audria, we haven't gotten to you yet, so I want to come to you as a sales. We're tying in marketing and sales here. Hybrid events are here to stay. So if you're planning an event in 2022 and wondering, should it be in person? Should it be virtual? What will happen with the next variant and in October? All of the unknowns. Our answer is yes to both. In person and virtual, hybrid is the way to go, especially for large scale events. The trend also leans into this strongly because not just for safety reasons, but also inclusion, accessibility, expanded outreach to the audience, selection of speakers, even return on an investment. And Audrey, we just gave a virtual training on this last week. So give us one or two tips about networking in a hybrid environment and why this is so important in our trends list.
Yes. So to stay on top of this trend of hybrid, it's really important to update your buyer personas. You have to think about what your buyer is actually going through right now. We're actually updating our buyer personas right now at M Connections, and it's something that we review regularly with the clients we work with. So you want to think about how much has your life changed in the last 2 years as you adjusted. The same is true for your clients or your customers. So you want to be thinking about how to create a buying experience that takes into their account their buying habits. So online is one portion of it, but also think about how can you integrate that in person as well. One other tip from the presentation is to just be really intentional with your networking. In some ways, networking in this hybrid space makes it so much easier to reach out than ever before. You might be able to access people that weren't on your list before. So create a list of who you really want to connect with, who can connect you to other people, and don't waste your time like shaking hands with everybody that you can meet. Be really strategic about who you target.
Such a great point, and being strategic. And I like what you mentioned too about just expanding that network. Audrey we were just on a call for this presentation, and she's in Seattle. And so being able to have, bring her in and not have it be awkward because everyone's so used to virtual now, it's so beneficial. And we have, if you're hearing this, you're like, oh no, I need to update my personas, or like hybrid, what does that look like? Our whole training is on demand on our website. So you can find that on our blog if you want to see that. Okay. So Audrey, you also mentioned that like this on-demand sales approach is one of your trends for this year. When you say that we need to understand our clients, it really starts with giving them what they need when they need it. So what do you mean by this? Like, is this one more thing I've got to do? Like, what is this?
So buyers go through a journey, and there's multiple steps on that journey. It starts with awareness, and then you move through purchase. So what you want to understand is where your buyer is on that journey and what they need in it. But the first time they hear about you is probably not going to be the first purchase. You want to make sure that you're giving them nuggets along the way so that it builds your credibility, it builds trust. Your job is not to promote your product, but what you want to show how your product or your services create solutions to their problems. So it actually rolls right into another trend that I predict for this year, which is something we should all know. Buyers are more informed than ever. They are highly educated on what they need and want. They have Google at their fingertips, and they are now absolutely used to using it to find all the answers. So it's not your job to educate them necessarily anymore. It's your job to learn their business, to learn their pain points, and to make sure that you're asking questions and listening so you can customize your solutions to their needs.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from our audience. Anyone adjusting whether it's email automations, your different automated email flows to really tie into this? Because it's so interesting that we've seen this shift where our customers already know everything or think they know everything, right? And they think they know everything that's out there on the market and all the possible solutions. And so really making sure that you understand their business and come at it from that viewpoint is so important. Of course, a lot of this education is coming from Google searches. We've been talking for years about how websites need to be mobile friendly. There's a small shift in that wording, though. And those of you who are very website focused or marketing tech focused, this will not be new to you. But that shift in language this year is moving from mobile friendly to mobile first. And this was something that was actually delayed in 2020 because of the pandemic. But Google this year is making that big shift. That one word is going to make a huge difference in how you're ranking in searches. Katerina, tell us about this trend on your list.
It is becoming really important to optimize your marketing to be mobile friendly. Today, everyone is on their phone, on their tablet, on their mobile laptops. And we've warned marketers before, it's not just enough to be mobile friendly anymore. Like you said, you have to be mobile first, or it could really hurt your Google rankings. So you can make your marketing count by including options to pay via mobile, creating mobile ads, and creating mobile responsive email templates.
Yeah, great point. And also starting with that, when you're in the design phase of like plugging in your content, when you're building it out, whether it's email or websites, starting with mobile and the mobile experience is going to be a big shift for a lot of people. So if you're not ready for that, know that that is coming and basically here. We also believe at M Connections that it goes hand in hand with website accessibility. We saw this really fast shift for all sorts of businesses at the start of the pandemic to go digital. So maybe restaurants or retailers or any kind of business that didn't have an interactive experience online for its clients or customers rushed to create websites so that they could offer their services online. But now it's time to circle back because we want to make sure that that rush to get into the digital space is just as accessible as your brick and mortar. Not only is it the right thing to do to make sure that everyone can access your website, those maybe with visual impairments or other needs, colors, where fonts. This really ties in a lot of things. So it's not only the right thing to do, it's also the legally required thing to do for businesses. So when we talk about the Americans with Disabilities Act and those ADA requirements for businesses, it includes your virtual spaces like websites, Zoom meetings. Do you have closed captioning on your videos? Things like that. This one is so important that we actually did an entire segment on our Expert Connections TV show about it. So you can tune in and hear Jesse Flores and Symposia Labs and Paul Schmidt and I talk about the importance. And we also have an attorney from Foster Swift talk about the importance of that. So that sounds very serious, but it is, right? Because we're also talking about, not only is it the legally required thing to do, but it's also, could you be missing out on an entire population of people who just can't access what you're providing online? And so you could be missing out on potential clients. You have people who are potentially missing out on what you offer, what you provide. So from accessibility to inclusiveness, Alexis, this one is yours. Tell us about the trend of inclusivity.
Yeah, so I think this has been a marketing trend on our list for years now, which is great. It's going to stay on our list for years to come. It's not going anywhere. So this is looking really at the importance of representation. So representation in design, so images, icons, video, voiceover. You can bring inclusivity, like you said, Julie, into your, and you can and you should, and you must bring inclusivity through the accessibility space on your website with looking at like readability, level of contrast, alt text for images and graphics that are on your website, but also literally into your graphic design. So looking at the people that you are choosing to include in your images. And so looking at everything from race, sex, abilities. So making sure that everyone is represented in the graphics and both in what they're seeing like visually on your website and in how they are accessing your website and how they are using, the marketing that you are putting out there.
Yeah, inclusivity really ties into relatability, which we know that in order to build a relationship, which is what marketing is, we need them to feel that we relate to them. They're a part of us, they're a part of our community. And so, in essence, it's about being inclusive. And we have to make sure that our language is also inclusive. Sometimes we assume that goes without saying, but let's say it. It's 2022. No more excuses. Inclusive language acknowledges diversity. It conveys respect to all people. It's sensitive to differences. It promotes equity and equality. And so this language is what we use in emails, marketing materials, social media, websites, any way that we're communicating internally and externally with our clients. So to anyone who kind of rejects or avoids inclusive language because maybe you're unsure or you don't know the right way to do it, let's learn about it. Like, this is the year. Let's embrace this. You could be otherwise missing a big opportunity to connect with people, with a really important audience. Also to make them feel welcomed and part of what you provide in the community. And it's okay if we don't always get it right. It's important that we learn that that's all a part of the learning process. So a lot of great resources in Lansing to help us with this as well. And Katerina, we also know that prioritizing social responsibility is a trend that consumers are demanding. So no matter what one person might personally think, and whether it's important to their business or not, it's what consumers want. So why is this transparency so important?
So over the last few years, social responsibility has moved from a trend to a necessity because it's what customers want. Consumers and employees now expect brands to take a stand on doing good things in the world. And bringing awareness to the causes that you support will help you become more marketable and stand out in the marketplace. Some of the responsibilities I think are really important to include could be natural environment, consumerism, community relations. Those are all really important things.
Absolutely. Paul mentioned even in the introductions at the very beginning of this presentation that they work with nonprofits that introduce and socially responsible companies. And that's a big part. I know Tim, our sponsor at Symposia Labs, we've had a lot of conversations about working with good people, and at M Connections, we kind of have this internal slogan, which might need a little marketing help, but we are good people who do good work for good people. That's something that's really important to our core values, that we're helping those who are helping others. And it's definitely something that I think younger generations we're seeing really push this forward. It's something that's very important. So absolutely a huge trend that will continue to grow this year. Okay, so are you speaking my language? We know that in anything we do, it's about our customers. Like when I say my, I mean like from the customer's viewpoint. Are you talking to me? Are you speaking and saying what I want to hear and see? Alexis, this also doesn't just mean words. Tell us about another trend in graphic design about language.
Yeah, so there's a way to kind of transcend that language barrier. So you don't have to speak 1,000 different languages. A new up and coming trend, we saw a little bit of it last year, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it this year, is the use of icons and illustrations. And this a little bit goes back to that piece that we were just talking about inclusivity. Because the use of icons and illustrations in particular kind of takes away all of the different things that can divide us, because a lot of the illustrations in particular that you might be seeing, don't have their illustrations without faces. They just rely on body language. They also might incorporate one of the trends that we already talked about, which is those bright, bold colors. So these are great ways to kind of merge a lot of this one trend is a great way to merge a lot of different trends together. Utilizing these icons and illustrations in your graphics, you can reach people who maybe don't speak the same language as you, or just want to see themselves or their interests represented in a different way. And it also gets us a little bit away from stock photos, which I'm sure we're all sick of. Like, we know that those people are not really working. They are not in an office. Like, you're not looking at anything on that, that piece of paper. So this is a really fun way to kind of break up the monotony of traditional stock images and bring something in that's maybe a little bit more eye-catching and a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I love that. Audience, what do you guys think? Are you seeing any of these trends so far? Any questions about trends? Anything you want to jump in on and add to or take away from what we're saying so far? I'd love to hear from you and what you're thinking so far. Okay, so we're talking about connecting with our audience through marketing. When in doubt, Mary Kate, use video. And Tim even mentioned this at the beginning, 80%, something about 80% in video. And I heard that and I was like, yes, video. All I heard was yes to video. So tell us about this trend.
Yes. Video wins on every platform and marketing medium. And we don't just mean short form videos like TikTok or Reels. That's obviously very important, but organic video can help you build intimacy and trust. So we want, stories that creates more meaningful opportunities for engagement. It's also important for social media, like platforms like YouTube and Pinterest. And if you want a good one to check out, I'll put a little side in here for Paul in this. He just did a really awesome reel about video trends. So if you check that out on his Instagram, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, MK, that you got Paul and his team also on this Reels trend, because it's a really good trend. Yeah. Okay. I think I promised I wouldn't do that. Yes, video wins. And like Mary Kate said, I just want to emphasize when video is included in emails, the open rates go through the roof. It's like 3 times more engagement when you have video in an email. And it's like that across the board on every platform. So it's not just on your website. It's not just on social media. It's not just an email. It's in every single place you could possibly put video. You will get more engagement, and people are more likely to buy when you have video. And it makes sense, right? Because we can see it. It's like the next best thing to actually being there and having the conversation or seeing the product or service, in person. So yes to video. Also, yes to audio. Katerina, I love this next trend of yours, and not just because I have a podcast, but tell us more about using audio in our marketing.
Yes. So this year, I challenge you to use your voice like a broadcaster. Unlike video content, your audience doesn't need to stare at a device in order to consume information. They can just hear it. So audio content can not only boost your on-page SEO performances, but it also is a more convenient way for your users to engage with the content, bringing higher return rates. So try out audio content like podcasts, audio blogs, social media audio, and incorporating audio content into written content. So like little audio snippets into your blogs.
Yeah, MK and Alexis, I want to jump over to you two as well, because you've been doing that for one of our clients who's a public speaker. She just published this amazing book, and she actually does the audio, like she narrates the audio book. And so tell us about, MK, why don't you tell us about how you're using audio in the social media marketing for her?
Yes. So she has such a calming voice. Her name's Joyce Martyr. She's awesome. And we just we've actually started to make reels, and we put her voice over, we'll make like a graphic or anything behind the scenes. And she's talking to the audience. And I think everyone can understand what it's like to actually be there with her. And if you can feel it coming through social media.
Yeah, I love that. So also a great example for a reel of not needing to be on camera. And also from our aspect, not needing our client to begrudgingly have to, not that she wouldn't be on camera, she'd be great, but in general, so Alexis, tell us about how like audio can also be incorporated into social media in different ways and how that actually helps.
Yeah, I mean, it really gives you that connection. So, when you see written content, and you see photos of people, or you see, stories that people have posted, that's one level of connection. But either seeing their face or even just hearing their voice, that kind of brings us a secondary level of intimacy that allows you to connect with your audience. So like Mary Kate said, using audio in reels, you can even, and we have done this for several clients where it's just a video with some, motion graphics on Instagram or Facebook, and it has the audio that's running behind it. So you don't need to see your face, you don't need to see yourself or someone else, but you can still kind of capture that without having to be on video. And it's a great way to do it. I like to say like fast and easy. You don't have to worry about having a good camera. You don't have to worry about like, what does your hair look like on, a particular day? Maybe that's just me. But you can just kind of put your voice out there and get your message out there. And again, it really speaks to, no pun intended, speaks to accessibility. So it's another way for people, who might have visual impairment, but they can access your content through that audio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's switch gears to talk about blogs, because we know blogs are important for a number of reasons as we're educating our audience and we're wanting to rank on Google. Every year, experts, and I'd love to hear from you and our audience, our marketing hackers weigh in. Every year, experts seem to go back and forth whether long form or short form will be better. And I say every year they go back and forth, and frankly, it's like every year different people say different things, right? So, I mean, right? Like that's, but Katerina, what are we going with this year? Are we saying long form or short form?
So both short form and long form content have their place in a successful content marketing strategy, and both can be very powerful tools to have in your marketing toolbox. But I want to focus on short form. So instead of always writing long blogs and detailed white papers, thinking about just consider writing snackable content. Short form content is typically considered anything 1,200 words in length or fewer, and it makes for strong shareable content, including customer reviews, event reminders, or even a short video or infographic. So in short, it is everywhere. Quick and easy to digest and covers a specific topic. So I would suggest that rather than going in depth, with longer forms of content.
Yeah, you know, the other thing that I really love about short form, like every piece of content has its place, but what I really love about short form is it's a great way to just do it. Like, how often are you working with someone maybe internally in your business, or I used to work, or we do work with attorneys who maybe are like, okay, well, if I write about this topic, it's gonna have to be really in depth. And this snackable piece is just such a different way to just get it done. Just create a little excerpt, just something short and sweet, and it's not, we're not procrastinating, we're not delaying doing it because it's going to take a lot of time. We have to really write something in depth. And I don't mean to pick on attorneys, because there are a lot of industries that are like that. Even marketing people who may not want to necessarily blog about something, but being able to create that short snackable piece is so helpful. Okay, this also ties into the idea Audrea brought up earlier about giving people what they want, because maybe they don't want to read this big long blog, right? Maybe they just want this little piece. And Audrea, the same can be said about where we need to reach people, whether we're talking about marketing or sales. So tell us about this. What's the trend in how we reach people?
So everyone has their preference for where they go for purchasing, for where they hang out for scrolling, for how they like to digest information, short form, long form. When you are working on your marketing plan and your sales plan, you need to reach out where they are. Don't assume that they'll come to you. So use multi-channel marketing and sales. Keep your brand consistent across all the platforms, but make sure that you're meeting your buyer where they are and not trying to pull them into where you'd prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. This is also where personalization ties in. Audrea, what's the next trend on your list? Why personalization?
You want to automate as much as you can because it saves you time and it's a phenomenal tool, but you can't automate that personal feel without making meaningful touch points. So as your buyer, like I said earlier, is going along this journey and they're getting to know you, they're getting to know your brand, they want to feel like you know them and you care about them. Otherwise, it's just spam. You're just sending information out. So you want your messaging to really feel personal to them. And if you're not sure how to make it personal, that goes back to those client personas that you can build so that you really know how to talk to them where they're at.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it rolling here. Your next trend talks about some outdated tactics that some people in sales might still be using. What are some of these outdated tactics that need to be dropped, and what's the replacement this year?
I would love to see people ditch the high pressure, aggressive tactics. They don't necessarily work as well as they used to, and they don't make your client or customer feel good. So you want to keep in mind that your customers, they're buying on their timeline, not yours. You don't need to push, push, push. You need to find out what is their timing. How do you build trust and credibility up through their timing so that they feel comfortable when they're ready to buy?
It's so important. This topic just came up yesterday. I was meeting with someone who mentioned that just within a few days of getting a hard sales push, like one of those kind of strong arm tactics, she then got a text that, and to her made her feel like it was accusing her of being scared of not moving forward. And it was like, as soon as I heard that, like, I'm sure I was like, ooh, like, how did that go over? I mean, needless to say, she did not buy from this person. And, and I can see like maybe that works for some people, but I think for a lot of people that'd be really off-putting. Those really aggressive tactics are no longer a trend. So,
and they're not necessary. They're not necessary if you really know who you're targeting and what they need.
Absolutely. There's another marketing technology trend that's changing this year with the impact on both sales and marketing. I called this one in my trends bye-bye cookies, and not the kind you eat. I know it's lunchtime, so like hungry. No, like the cookies online on websites. So bye-bye cookies, hello CRM. Google is set to end cookie tracking sometime early this year, which will require some pretty major changes, especially for really large brands that rely on that tracking for a lot of their ads and the data that they're collecting. So the replacement for this is to really look at boosting your CRM, your customer relationship management tools, because that's going to really grow in importance. And Audrea, you love CRM. I love what I get from CRM, but I don't love using it. You do. Tell us some of the advantages of CRM and why this should really be a MarTech trend that people jump on board with this year if they haven't already.
So one of my favorite things about CRMs is that it gives you a holistic way to look at your customers. Like Julie said, if you're relying on cookies, and which is third-party tracking, to tell you who your customers are, you're going to lose a lot of that data. With the CRM, you populate that with first-party data. That's your data. It's not going away. You own it. So you can use this tool to build out that big picture about your client. You can use this tool to build dashboards. So you're tracking the activity on the data that is most important to you and your business. And the CRM makes it super easy to customize your buyer journey and to personalize the outreach because you know them, you know where they're at, you know how to talk to them. You can be proactive in how you offer your products and services to them because you will know what is most important to them, and that will be documented in your CRM. Additionally, creating processes, collaboration, super easy when you have one spot where everyone can go and get the same data that they need about that client.
Yeah, absolutely. Audience, weigh in. What are your thoughts? We're getting close to the end here. We've got about 10 minutes left. Any trends we haven't mentioned that you think are going to be really big this year that we should all take note of? Anything that you're already seeing success, at 1 month in, or any questions for our panel? Feel free to comment. And okay, so before we go, let's slip in one last graphic design trend. Alexis, give us one final tip for 2022.
Okay, so one of my favorite ways to add like just a little something extra to a design is through creative fonts. So we have seen in years past, the sans serif fonts have been really popular. Those are the fonts with like very clean lines. There's nothing extra. But now these serif fonts, which have that little extra detail, on the top and bottom, those are really coming back, and they're kind of coming to meet this retro design trend, this vintage trend. So these fonts are a great pairing for some of these other design trends that we've seen. They're a really great way to kind of infuse some authenticity, some elegance, some of that nostalgia that we're all kind of going after. And they're really great to be used on websites and social media and in graphic design. So they kind of fit everywhere. They're really flexible, and serif fonts can be really beautiful. So if you haven't tried playing around with some fonts in your graphic designs yet or lately, then I would definitely encourage you to branch out a little bit and try a serif font or two and see how you feel.
And definitely talk to someone like Alexis so you know where to be using those serif fonts, because we also see a lot of people misusing them. So if it doesn't look right, then don't use it. But I love that, like having that touch of elegance, that classic look. What a great design tip for this year. Okay, so as we wrap up here, I would love to bring Paul Schmidt back in to talk about some video trends for this year. Hey, Paul, hope you don't mind us putting you on the spot. So we also have a blog coming out next week that's going to talk about website trends. So if you want to do a deeper dive specifically into website trends, then, check that out at mconnections.com next week. But today, Paul, you just put out a reel and a blog and a YouTube video about your top 5 trends for the year. So tell us what's coming in video. What should we be paying attention to?
Well, it really is really funny. You guys have mentioned quite a few of my trends that I had in there, such as making sure you're using the stories in the social media sphere, using video a lot. Shorter video is hot, like Mary Kate mentioned about TikTok and Reels. Live streaming, which also goes in hand in hand with what you and Audra were talking about when it comes to hybrid, because that's a huge trend that we're seeing, is that people are giving the ability to be virtual as well as doing things in person. So that's a huge one. Blogging or vlogging, that's another big huge one where you're actually putting yourself out there as a thought leader. You can do that within the Reels, within TikTok and stuff like that. But that's a trend that more and more folks are going to be engaging with, as well as the user-generated content, which also falls into the influencer marketing. And that's just another one of those aspects that video amps it up a little bit with the influencer aspect of it, as well as you showing off your product or getting those testimonials from folks as well. One of the things that wasn't mentioned out of all the trends that were spewed forth from your amazing minds is the one thing that I've been actually harping on for years, and that is making sure your video is searchable. Because if you're going to do more video content and you're going to put it out there, you need it to be found. And if you're not filling out the stuff that needs to be done, even the simple things like creating a really good title, or filling out the description, and also making sure that they're closed caption. I know somebody mentioned that when you're talking about accessibility, making sure that those things are in place so that Google can index them in 3 or 4 different ways. Plus, and as you know, Google owns YouTube, so Google likes the video aspect. And then also with your Google My Business page, or it's not called that anymore, Google Business or whatever it is, making sure that that's all up to date with video content as well, because that is a more of a platform that's coming forth and being used in more ways than that. Then the last thing, a little kind of a bonus side tip, if you will, is to talk about the accessibility and is making sure that not only are you making sure that your stuff is all captioned, but also making sure that you have the ability to incorporate different languages as well, in case you have making sure your audiences that you reach in different ways have that captioned or that subtitling available for them as well. It's really huge. Here in Michigan, we really put forth Spanish as well as Arabic. Those are the 2 major languages that are spoken aside from English. And so those are some of the things that you need to think about. Who your wider audiences are that where English is not their main language. So those are some of the things that we're watching and we're seeing. Like I said, a lot of it coincides with what you all have already brought to the table. So that's where we're at.
I love that, Paul. Great tips, great trends to track there. And I would love to hear from the audience. I mean, we covered a lot today, but depending on the industry you're in, depending on your business and your focus, we know there are more trends. So feel free to join, whether you're watching live or watching on a replay. Share some of your trends in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to hear from you on what topics you'd like us to find presenters for this year from Lansing Marketing Hackers. So maybe you heard a trend today that you want to hear a deeper dive into. Maybe there's something that you're an expert on, and we'd love to tap into your expertise. So let us know, reach out to us directly or put it in the comments, and we can go from there. So thank you so much to all of our panelists today for stepping outside of your normal comfort zone to share these trends. Thank you, all of you, for joining us for the Lansing Marketing Hackers, this virtual event. We plan to continue our virtual events. Eventually, we'll go hybrid again. But for now, you can find us right here on Facebook and YouTube every other month. So next on our docket in April, Timothy Haynes of Symposia Labs, who you saw at the beginning of this program, he will be presenting on social media advertising. I can't wait for this one. He is titling it, Facebook Ads Are Dead, the Future of Social PPC. So mark your calendars now to join us for that one in April, because that's sure to be a good one. So that's all for today. Thank you all for joining us on behalf of our entire Lansing Marketing Hackers team. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.